everyone, this is Monique from the Runaway Stamper, and I'm just here playing around with the Woodland textured embossing folder by Stamping Up, and I just wanted to show you a really neat technique with the stamping sponges that I've used for a few cards, and I think that it turns out quite lovely. So I'm gonna get started right away. This is the embossing folder, and if you open it up and you have a look at the side inside, with the side that has Stamping Up on the opposite side, you look and you can see that the trees are going up like this because you want your branches going up, not going down. So this is going to be the ground and this will be the sky. So you want to put most of your color for the sky at the top, and so because at the bottom it's sort of the ground or the grass or either the snow, whichever you prefer. So what I've done is I have a stamping sponge here that I've cut into 4. So this makes it a little bit smaller. And I'm going to take, I've actually got 2 colors on here. I've got Balmy Blue on this side, and then I've got a darker blue, which is called Pacific Point on this side. So I'm going to start with my Balmy Blue, and this is, oh no, that's Pool Party. Sorry about that. I don't know what I did with my Balmy Blue. Oh, here it is. Okay, so I'm just going to ink up the side that is Balmy Blue. So I'm just gonna tap, tap, tap in there. And then, as I said, the top part here is the sky. So I'm gonna go from right to left, because I do not want too much ink to get on the trees. We don't want to have blue ink on the trees. So if you go down, up and down, it's going to get on the trees and look sort of like you have blue ink everywhere. Okay, so it all depends on how far you want your sky to go down, and if you want it to look like there's like a hill in the snow, or what you feel like. Now, and then I'm going to open up my Pacific Point ink pad, and I'm going to get some ink on there, same thing I did before with the Balmy Blue. And then I'm just going to go in and lightly, because this color, not very light, is quite a bit darker, and you still want to be able to see your, Balmy Blue. So you are kind of mixing 2 colors together. So okay, well that looks pretty good. I'm just going to set that aside because I feel like I've got a bunch of ink on my fingers and somehow it's going to end up on my card. So I'm just going to do, for the first one, I'm just going to show you how to use the embossing folder without doing a stamped image on the embossing folder. This is just straight embossing with, so I'm going to set my card stock. I've just taken Whisper White, not thick cardstock, and I'm just going to position it where I think, sort of in the middle. And I'm going to close my embossing folder without hitting my camera, hopefully. I think I'm going to have to move it over a little bit. And just bring it down like this, and then I'm going to go over to my die cutting machine and I'm going to run it through that so it will emboss it. So I will try to move the camera, but if I lose the camera, then you'll know what happened. Okay, so there's my die cutting machine over there. Hopefully you can see. It's kind of a crooked image, but hopefully. Okay, so I'm coming over here, not sure if you can see me, and I need to put this here on a plate, and then I need to make my sandwich, so I'm going to put another plate on top. Actually, I'm not sure you can see from that side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it around to this side so you can see. So I'll just go over that again. So this is my plate. Here's my, here's my base plate. Here's my plate for my sandwich, my embossing folder, and then my top plate. Because you want to make sure it's actually thick enough to go through and actually emboss, okay? So now I'm gonna just start it off, and then I'm gonna emboss it. I'm hoping that it didn't seem like, you can always run it through a second time. It didn't seem like it was very hard to get through there. I'm wondering if I somehow flipped up my thing without noticing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look at this, and it turned out pretty well. I'm not sure if you can see that from there. I'm going to bring it over so you can have a look, and I'll have to change my camera around again because I cannot figure out how to flip it around. There. So can you see that? That looks pretty nice. Now, I'm noticing that I had done one just before and I had rinsed off my embossing folder, because once you're done, you just take it over to the tap and just rinse it off and all the ink will come right off. But I think that it might have been a little bit wet, because when I look at this, it seems a little blotchy, but it actually looks nice for a sky. You know, it looks like a sky. Now, if you wanted to stamp, like here, I stamped, this was a gray sky that I did in the background. It was quite thick, and I actually took the ink pad and put the ink right on the embossing folder from the ink pad. So maybe that's not a very good example, but I just wanted to show you that I put the dog on the front. Like I colored it, I stamped it, I colored it, and I punched it out and put it on, so it's in front of the trees. But this one is a sponge sky, so you can see the difference is not as dark. And but I also have the dog on the outside, and the dog is stamped with Memento ink pad, and that's great because you can use the blender pens to color. So that's what I did here. I stamped it with Memento ink pad, colored it with blender pens, and punched it out with the punch that goes with the Happy Tales stamp set. And this little red bird here is actually from Paper Pumpkin set that just came out in October. It's part of the 2-kit series that they put out, which is called Winter Wonders. So anyway, it was a lovely set, a lovely Paper Pumpkin kit with the little red birds. So I just thought that went so well with this card. And you can see I added some Dazzling Diamonds glitter. I just put on my fine-tipped glue pen, and then I just, which I can't seem to put my hands on right now, but it is here somewhere. I just kind of went along the trees, like on one side of the trees, and then because it is a fine-tipped glue pen from Stampin' Up, it you can just like sprinkle the Dazzling Diamonds glitter over top of it, and it just sticks to it, and it really gives it that sparkle. So it's lovely. Now, what I was telling you before was, I said, oh, I'm not going to show you how to do the embossing folder where you actually stamp on the embossing folder. Okay, here's an example of this. I sponged this, and then I stamped right on the embossing folder the dog, and then embossed. So it's just a little bit more complicated, and maybe I'll do a video on this later on. This is another one that I did with the moose, and what I did with this one was I sponged, then I stamped the moose with early espresso ink, and I embossed through the die cutting machine, and then when it came out I went in with an early espresso Stampin' Write marker and put in all the dark lines on the trees. And then I took watercolor, well actually I took my Stampin' Write markers and I put some on a block, as you can see right here. Oop, maybe you can't see because I've got it. So what I did was I just took, I'll just show you here. I took a Stampin' Write marker and I went like this on the block, and then I took my watercolor pencil, or my watercolor brush, I guess I should say, and or aqua painter, and I just colored in, I just picked up some of the ink and I just lightly gave the moose some color. So that's how he got colored in. I haven't put any sparkles or anything on that yet because I'm not really sure what I want to do with that, but I did get out my Pacific Point paper, so I think it will go really nicely on the blue. So we'll see how that turns out. So just quickly, just so you know, if you were to do where you stamp on the embossing folder, here's the embossing folder again. I'll just move this out of the way. And you can see there's still ink on there because I haven't rinsed it off yet. What you would do is you would you would sponge your sky, and then you would come in, and there's two quite large spaces here in between the trees. And if you have, like, let's say a deer or a moose or a dog and you want to stamp it in there, then just try to make sure that the face is in this area, because otherwise the tree is going to cut the face of the animal, and because you like, it's going to be blocking the image that you've stamped. So kind of stamp it there, and then you do the exact same thing. You put it through your die cut embossing machine, and yeah, it comes out just like the moose one I showed you, or the dog one. So anyway, if you have any questions or any comments, hopefully you didn't find this video too long, but there was lots of detail that I needed to share with you. Anyway, please like my page and follow me at The Runaway Stamper, and I hope you have lots of fun trying out this new technique if you have not tried it before. And yeah, so we'll see you next time. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Bye.